teaching tailoring and fashion.
Oh, really? So that's to say your passion for tailoring is actually very tight.
Very, very tight. That's where my interest has been since in my school days. I've always had that interest and flair for clothing.
Okay.
I'm built for competition. I feel as long as my work is good, it will speak for itself. And I know there are a lot of good fashionistas out there, but I'm ready. Let's compete.
You're ready. I like that. You have a very positive spirit. And you know, when you have a positive spirit, you actually can get to where your heart, your mind, your body, your soul desires you to get to. And that's actually what we wish for you.
Thank you very much.
Blue Blood. When I come back to Jos, and Blue Blood has actually infused tailoring, painting, spoken word all together. Is this possible?
Creativity is universal. The creative mind is capable of doing a lot of crafts, So I've decided that all the things I have to be doing will be in line with creativity. Now, for spoken word is something that I can just instantly give it out. I can write it down, but it doesn't take a lot of my time. And in this part of the country, spoken word may not feed me, actually. So I have to switch to something that can feed me, feed the family and people close to me, as well as improve the economy as well.
I have learned a lot sitting here and talking with you. I hope when next we come in, we'll find you in Jos.
My pleasure, you will.
Okay, you don't intend to run out when you've made all the name and all that.
I don't think I will. I don't think I have legs for that.
Okay.
We prefer to be in Jos and then let the world come and find us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Blue Blood. Thanks for giving us your time.
Thank you for having me.
Before we go, I'm sure you want to do one more last piece for us. Maybe for us.
The NTA crew. So resilient and strong in what they do. They traverse the length and breadth of this nation, going to unimaginable places, trekking unknown destinations to get information, to talk to people and expose these things to the world, to see. Even for blind eyes would see the screen capturing details of beautiful, innovative, and many other good things. Strong and resilient they are. Strong hands on the cameras. Strong ladies, strong men. Strong and resilient. Strong and resilient.
I am God on a mic. To recite poetry, I'm never skeptical. My words are like electrical when they pass through your brain. It's ill, Master Chief. No time for games.
I am the curse that is blessed. I am older and smarter than I am. I dig words like diamonds, sapphires, and pearls. From my deep thoughts to listening ears, I am Blue Blood.
I am black. I am white. And still, what I am is not a color. Don't holler. I am in everybody's body. I am DNA. You can't wish it away.
I am she. Don't forget the dough. You still have to call me Ma. I am dough, she, Ma. Spoken word it is on the Nigerian Television Authority. Keep it locked.
Charlie, the producer.
Life is a mirror and it reflects what you want to be, who you are, is what you see in that mirror. That's the story of Blue Blood, the young man we just finished his interview. He actually believes that he has royalty flowing down his blood. And that is why he's Blue Blood. Anyone can aspire to be who he wants to be. It's just about you believing in yourself believing in your environment, being consistent, and then the sky will definitely be your starting point. My name, like every day, is Toshima Pius Ikeravi. Dance is a form of entertainment, no doubt. But it's not just to entertain you. It is also a piece of art that tells a story. Thank you very much as we draw the curtains here and say goodbye for this week. I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week on another episode of Spoken Word with love from Joss on the rocks. Hey! Joss on the rocks. You know, there's no way you come to Joss and you'll not enjoy the rocks. And so, from Joss on the rocks, I say, do have a blessed day.
Leather industry in Kano is as old as the beginning of the Hausa civilization. Spanning over 1,000 of years, the industry supplied leather materials to the hinterland and also served as a major trade link between Kano and other parts of the world through transparent trade. It flourished for many years and served as an essential economic mainstay of the Hausa land. In Kano today, few tanneries struggle to operate at a capacity quite inadequate to feed the local leather industries, and this has no doubt stunted their growth, not only in Kano, but other parts of Nigeria.
This is Majema local leather industry or traditional leather industry in Kofar Wambai area of the city of Kano. This place is believed to have existed for over 90 years. It is indeed a heaven for different categories of people, irrespective of their ages.
We grew up into the business of tanning, which we inherited from our forefathers. I think this place is over 80 years. And for how long have you been into this trade? I've been into this trade for approximately 50 years.
As you can see, all activities to do with leather processing is being carried out here.
I happen to see myself in this trade. My parents and their parents were also in the occupation. At least, I have spent over 15 years working here. I tanned a specific leather called tundra, a skin of python, just like this one. I also operate on skin of crocodile and goats, among many others.
In spite of the serious decline in its operations and profitability across the value chain, some business people in Kano still see prospect in leather business and are determined to stay in it.
So now we increase the capacity instead for 15,000 a day, we make it as 30,000 pieces. That's our capacity for right now. But we have the plan to increase more, to make it like 50 to 60,000 pieces a day.
When we receive the raw skins, we are going to grade the skins by size. After that, we are going to trim. We want to make the skin to be shaped from the starting stage itself. From there, we will take the skin to the process so that the bacteria will put some chemicals to avoid the bacteria so that the skins will not spoil.
One cannot overemphasize the value this industry adds to the economy, and it is worrisome that this once highly prosperous industry will be allowed to decay.
Well, you can see how many people you employ here. Before, some people here is not more than 200 people are working in this place. Now we have more than 500 people, and we want to increase our capacity. We need more people again.
For the leather industry to thrive, government must invest substantially in the local content and re-emphasize on policies that encourage all players in the industry.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Many studies have proven that family relationships greatly impact people throughout their life, especially the relationships formed during early childhood. Family relationships have a huge impact on children and can shape who they become as adults. In most societies, the family is the major unit through which socialization begins and occurs. According to the National Council on Family Relations, the family is ideally a major source of practical and emotional support for its members. As basic and essential building blocks of societies, family play a crucial role in societal development. In the past, families are renowned for their credible values that shape society. Today, ironically, the opposite is the case. Where did we get it wrong? How can we right the wrong? That's one of the reasons our focus is on the family as a unit of society. Welcome to 30 Minutes on NTA News 24. I'm Lydia Sampson. A cutting razor is this report by Thomas Ogbetere looking at the importance of family as the first agent of socialization and personality formation. What are the family values that shaped citizens in the olden days? How have such values eroded with time? And how do children with negative associations contribute to vices in society? Let's allow Thomas take it from here.
Family is the first agent of socialization and character formation. Mothers and fathers, siblings and grandparents, plus members of the extended family teach children their first lesson in life and how to relate with others. Many social factors affect the way a family raises its children. For example, individual behaviors are affected by the historical period in which they occur. 60 years ago, it would not have been considered out of place for a father to hit his son with a wooden spoon or a belt if he misbehaved. But today, that same action might be considered as child abuse. Race, social class, religion, and other societal factors also play an important role in socialization or in character formation of children. Children most times are socialized to abide by gender norms, perception of race, and class-related behaviors. According to a counselor, when a family fails in its responsibility as the first agent of socialization and character formation, such children will not only reflect some negative characteristics in the society, but also influence others negatively.
That the bandits we are seeing today, the kidnappers, and whatever name they are called, herdsmen and whatever, is a faulty family background. And that is what we are reaping today. Because so many families and parents abdicated their responsibility. And that is a consequence. And so I will pray that parents should go back to the drawing board. To reduce this social menace, we need to go back to the drawing board and rebuild our family altar and strengthen a relationship in our family. Because this is just the beginning. If we do not go to the streets, you see the boys going up, they don't have parents. Some of the parents have left them on their own. And so they take care of themselves. So they can be easily influenced and all that. And I have just said it. When your children come home, assess them. Who is their friends? Allow them bring in their friends and assess the kind of categories of friends they have. Check out where they go. And then try to talk to them on a daily basis. We have a role to play. We don't leave this to the government alone. We are all shouting the government is doing nothing. The government is doing nothing. What are you doing as a father? What are you doing as a mother? As a family? What are you doing to raise up your children to be better people? Are you not seeing people on suit fights in the office? That's a faulty family background. Because the love they did not get in the family, they cannot exhibit it outside. So it's what you are giving that you can give out to the society.
With modernization, family values can be seen shifting emphasis on independence, unlike in the olden days when values were placed on togetherness. Again, in the olden days, there were some family values that shaped people towards good citizenship. These include honesty, integrity, and discipline.
In those days, the priorities of parents is to inculcate the spirit of hard work to the children, showing them the due process for sustainable success in life. Because they themselves, were products of hard work. Unlike today, that some parents try to inculcate the mentality of get rich quick. So hard work was a key value. That's why you see a mother that's going to the kitchen and takes the female daughter, the daughter along and say, please, come and sit down and see what I'm doing. Look at the rudiments and the process to prepare a good meal. And then you see a father goes out to his place of work and he wants to go with a child and probably the male children and then sit them down and see what he is doing. And in that process, the children come to understand that the road to success is hard work. And so that was an imbued value that transformed our generation of those days. And that was what even bet some of the developments we are seeing today. And then again you talk of discipline. In those days, parents take time to discipline their children and the community at large. You cannot see a child go out and come back as late as 12 a.m. and then comes to the house without being reprimanded. They check today. The girls, they go out, they can even come back 1 a.m. in the morning, and then the parents will just say, welcome. And so discipline was a very key value. And then you talk of honesty. Honesty. To be honest with your relationship, both with parents, both with friends, both with the community people, and then both with people you meet with. Properties were in a safer hands. And that is why in those days you can leave your money somewhere and you can still meet it. Because children from various homes were indoctrinated with this spirit of honesty. And they were exhibiting it anywhere they found themselves, anywhere they go. But today, dishonesty is the order of the day. You find it very difficult to even trust a primary school child, pupils, not to even talk of secondary school students, not to talk of the university. And so, honesty was a key value. And then, decency. Decency in appearance, in dressing, in lifestyle in totality.
More worrisome is the fact that today, most children do not respect their parents the way it used to be in the days of their fathers. A situation that was attributed to westernization, too much of familiarity, and over-pampering of children, among other reasons. Another area of concern that may have affected the family as an agent of socialization is the advent of technology and increasing trend in globalization.
Technology is here to stay, so it's good that we use it for the good of the family. And what do I mean by that? Rather than it separate us or take us further away from our family, like many of the youth today, we are so engrossed with technology. We could be in a house and you're not even interacting with your parents, with your siblings. Everyone is stuck on a gadget. We don't have families where we sit down to discuss or talk anymore. We rather chat with friends on the Facebook, and that has in a way made us to grow apart as families.
Well, the aspect of the family values that has issue is the addiction of young people to their phones, to internet and all that. That addiction is affecting the family values. It's not only the young people. Wives and husbands are hooked onto their phones, and therefore there is lack of communication, effective communication in the homes. Face-to-face communication in homes improves, bonding. Okay, and when people are looking at gadgets, you don't care when daddy arrives, when mommy arrives, if daddy is calling you, you say I'm coming, and you're on your gadget. All those things tend to devalue family system. What can be done is that every family should begin to have their own code of conducts, when you can be on the phone and when you cannot be. If, for example, you say between these hours and this, let's have family interaction. The family will be able to meet, eat together, without anybody picking up their phone when they are eating together or when they are talking together.
If all these social vices in the society today are prevalent as a result of faulty upbringing of children by parents, guardians, and other family members, how can this generation then make some adjustment in order to get it right to avoid a future without morals? To save Nigeria from impending moral decay, value reorientation aimed at inculcating values that can help Nigeria out of its numerous predicaments and refocus the nation towards greatness should be pursued with deliberate speed.
Now, family bear the primary responsibility of the education and socialization of children, as well as instilling values of citizenship. How and where did we get it all wrong? Why is society bedeviled with deviance these days, with horrible reports of killings and maiming mercilessly on the news every day? What is the role of parents, guardians, and even the society at large? Well, the answers I got are presented in the next report. Expert says it is important for families to identify values that are unique to them as opposed to creating a template for all families to follow. According to the National Council on Family Relations, identifying unique values will allow families to become more focused on what is important to them. For some, it is discipline, others money or time or enduring relationships. These are just a few of the aspects of family life affected by family values.
Value normally, they are acceptable ways of living peculiar to a family or the society in general. And Family values in particular is not far away from it. It's more or less those acceptable ways of living within the family structure, the way family, the structure family, the way you think, the way you conduct yourself, and the way you look at the whole family.
Virtues such as care, equality, justice, integrity, honesty, responsibility, and restraint are like ties that bind families and determine their makeup, what they represent. Such virtues are also critical to shaping decision-making, as most often you hear people say compromising on a subject is against how they were raised. Family values are different for each family. However, values give families an outlook on life, that is, a way to view the world. Ironically, these positive family values have been eroded over time, such that children from hitherto well-known and respected families are becoming deviants. So, is it then about the values? What went wrong? How can these be corrected? What is the role of parents, especially mothers?
I really give much of the blame to mothers, because as mothers, we are supposed to uphold the values of the family, imbibe cultural values into our children, because by nature, God has given us that responsibility of taking care of the whole family at the home front. And while men are supposed to be going out to go and hustle for the family. So actually, our children these days, they have lost it, probably because of the busy nature of the mothers, which maybe is not unconnected with the economic downturn. You know, in those days, parents, the male parents were solely responsible for keeping the family, feeding the family and other things, while the mother will be solely confined to the family of keeping the children and teaching them all the moral values. But I don't know, these days, the men and the women, they are competing outside there. So nobody is leaving the home front, nobody is taking care of the children.
As a mother, and I'm also a worker, and I will base my argument on two things. Number one, I have to look at the parenting angle, and I also look at the technological aspect. Number one, as a parent, we have become so busy, we don't pay attention to what our children are doing. Most times we don't watch what they watch, their TV channels, the books they read, all the WhatsApp groups, the peer groups, the kind of friends they keep. Like somebody like me, all my children's WhatsApp group, I involved myself in it. I'm also part of the groups they belong, so that I will see the communication going on. Then secondly, we have to also look at the kind of group they keep, the friends they keep. Let's always pay attention to these children, because when they are going wrong, we should be able to know, and we know where to come in. But we have become so busy, especially mothers. We're supposed to be very close to our children, but the boys and the girls, so that we know what they do, we understand them better. But now we don't have time. We're so busy looking for things here and there, career and all that. But honestly, we need to come back to our children. We need to look at what they do. And secondly, I'll talk about the technology. With the introduction of technology, so many things have gone wrong. Because before now, there was no technology. So you depend on what your parents tell you. But right now, the children believe what they see on the internet. And we don't care. We don't watch them. We don't look at what they are doing. Technology is good. It has changed a lot of things positively. But it has also affected our children. We don't even understand them again. Whatever you say, they don't believe you, but they believe what the internet is saying.
What is the role of religious leaders in molding individuals to become useful to society?
As an African person, our family is number one thing. Even from Islamic point of view, Allah says, if not because He has decreed that nobody should worship any other thing beside Allah. Allah says, if you are not worshiping any other thing, then goodness in the family is the next thing. So, if after God is the family, So the way you are conscious of God should be the way you should be conscious of your family. And any family that they do not have a particular value which they have, they do not fit to exist. Because the value of a particular community depends on the value of most families in that community. If the community, if the family does not have a value which they value now, then it means that community is gone.
It is high time we know, understand, and appreciate our value, our culture, our cultural heritage, and we must put this into the school curriculum. Start teaching it, and government should also not throw away everything African. Even our dressing, don't throw away everything African. Let us continue to promote the values that we have, promote it, project it, encourage it, and also live with it. And then by so doing, we will be bringing back that beautiful culture, beautiful values that we had in the past.
Part of the reason values are so important to families and society is they can provide a sense of hope, meaning, or significance to members, especially when facing challenges and crisis situations. Responsible individuals even feel a sense of despair when they aren't living in line with their values.
So please, parents, let's pay attention to our children. It's very important. Let's watch how they grow. Let's look at all the stages, because there are different stages as they grow. There are different stages. Please give them that time. Despite my tight schedule, I have time for my children. I go out with them. I always speak with them. Even the 4-year-old, I ask her question. What do you think about this? What do you think? What do you want? How do you want me to relate to you? And she will tell me, this is what I want and this is what I want. Even the boys. So let's pay attention to our children. It's very important. Because if we do that, you find out that the society as a whole, the parenting, proper parenting will take care of the society.
All what we need to do is for all of us to now be reasoning, what have we done wrong to the level that we cannot do this thing that our family has now becoming. Because if you notice now, most parents, it is their children who controls them. To the level that ordinary remotes, it is the children who controls what they want to watch, abandoning the parent. Even some parents, I don't want to say, they have now lost their leadership in the value. They say, leave them, these children of nowadays, thinking that they are helping them, not knowing that they actually hate them. You should be able to say, no, you can't do this. And that is the best gift you are giving to your children. You should be able, life from even the control of the remote at home. We just have to start from there and to the level of even sitting in the sitting room with the family. It does not mean a parent should be tiger in the family, in the home, but should be able to control your children to say, yes, I'm here with my visitor, go to your room or go out and play. I am busy now. Many of our parents, of the parents of nowadays, they have lost that control, thinking that they love their children. No, that is not love at all. Until we're able to start from as little thing as that, it is then we'll be able to come back to where we are coming from. And also, the issue of material thing. The moment each family places a lot of premium on the material thing, then we can't get to where we are. We should allow the children to value the family first, to value that relationship first, before the issue of material thing. Yes, we all need material thing, but should not be the ultimate in the family.
I want to advise our youth of nowadays to not to feel that everything African is bad, not to think that everything Nigerian is bad. I want to advise our youth to also showcase the good qualities that we have in our own environment, in our own system. Recently, they said some of the artifacts that are taken away from Nigeria, from Benin and Lagos and some Abuja, they took them to Europe. They took them to the UK. If they didn't see something good in them, they would not have taken them away. Today, they are bringing them back and bringing them back fresh. Now, it shows that there are things that we have that even the Western world admire. So I want the youth of today to really know that we are not created to be backward.
Values are important also because they provide a foundation as a source of protection, guidance, affection, and support. Instilling family values can protect and guide children against making hurtful decisions in the future, as values teach a sense of right and wrong. This is because values add to relationships and influence judgments and behaviors. It is largely reported that much of what we do and how we react to various situations and issues is a result of our values. Experts say having solid family values help people make the right choices in life. Yes, parenting can be a challenge with all of the world's influences. It can even be scary. However, the truth is, knowing what you believe in as a parent and what you want for your children will help you raise them to be responsible and conscientious adults. We hope we have done our little part in keeping you informed and enlightened on the issue. Until next time, remain blessed and stay safe. I'm Lydia Sams.
Everything is architected and designed by the Almighty.
Someone who is a Christian is someone who lives a life of Jesus Christ. And the life of Jesus Christ is a life of sacrifice.
Yes.
For anyone who values financial security and ultimately desires financial freedom, creating at least one additional stream is no longer a luxury. It has become a necessity. Diversifying your income stream is crucial to protect yourself and your family against the unavoidable ups and downs of economic and industry cycles. Because of the financial risk that come from relying on one source of income, such as a job or a business, consider creating at least one or more additional streams to generate cash flow. The benefits of having multiple streams of income include peace of mind, because you know there will always be money to spend. Also, you will earn much more than you currently earn from your day's job. Therefore, you will live bigger and better. Your additional income streams can be active, passive, or a combination of the two. Some may pay you for doing something that you love, active, while others can provide income for you without having to do much of anything at all, passive. Here are multiple streams of income opportunities: selling information in hard book format, selling information in the form of downloadable ebooks, making money from referral opportunities, training classes, consulting opportunities, dealership opportunities, design opportunities, manufacturing opportunities, investment opportunities. The list is definitely not exhaustible. To create wealth, you must make investment that will create dependable streams of income flows, independent of your main source of income. The time to act is now. Begin implementing this practice, and before you know it, within months, you can be enjoying the benefits and the financial security and freedom that comes from having multiple streams of income.
Abuja, the place that unites Nigeria.
Hello and welcome. It's time for another interesting package of
Everything Music.
Angelina.
Vice President Osinbajo launches small and medium enterprises clinics in Dutse.
Every effort will be made to address the challenges and bottlenecks that they may be facing.
After 13 years, 9th Senate finally passes Petroleum Industry Bill.
The demons have been defeated in this chamber. We have passed the bill by the grace of God.
Afrexim Bank to invest $2.5 billion in Nigerian economy.
We will also support Nigeria to begin to manufacture pharmaceuticals, especially vaccines.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we continue our conversation on the war against drug abuse, plus passage of the Petroleum Industry Bill by the Senate.
The war against drugs is a war that must be fought by all. It is not just a slogan, but a call for civil action for all Nigerians to take active part in this war.
Now, those were the words of President Muhammadu Buhari during the launch of WADA, that is the War Against Drug Abuse, to mark the International Day of Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, commemorated annually on the 26th of June.
The president did not mince words when he said the war against drug abuse is more deadly than insurgency in the northeastern part of the country, or the acts of banditry in the northwest, or the acts of kidnapping that transcends all the geopolitical zones of this country. He says drug abuse is destroying 3 generations: grandparents, parents, and children.
Now, according to statistics, Nigerians are, unfortunately, the highest users of cannabis worldwide. And also, revelations from kidnapped victims corroborate the fact that illicit substances are usually enablers of insecurity currently plaguing the country. So, it is not difficult to conclude that drugs have been, as it were, catalysts for all forms of criminality.
And recently, Chairman of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, Brigadier General Buba Marwa, puts the value of cash and drugs seized in the past 5 months since he assumed office as the leader of the NDLEA at over 90 billion naira, even as he added that over 2,180 traffickers have been arrested, including 5 drug barons, controlling different cartels across Nigeria.
Well, that's not all, Kyria. General Marwa also revealed that a record 2.05 million kilograms of drugs have been intercepted across the country, and that over 2,000 drug offenders have been prosecuted, with 500 jailed in the course of the last 5 months. But all that is just the tip of the iceberg when one considers the dimension of drug abuse in the country.
We hear that those who abuse drugs are now graduating to higher substances with suicidal effects. Kinsley, of course, you've had that before now. You recall that our guest last week was talking about the substance known as Flakka, as well as Colorado.
That's right.
These are drugs which make those who use them want to commit suicide by either running into a moving vehicle or jumping from dangerous heights. And you just wonder, what is the world turning into?
That's a very pertinent question, Kieran. Now, what the latest trend should tell both the young and the old about drug abuse is that it does intense damage to the brain and triggers destructive tendencies. So, if the end result of getting high on drugs or other substances is to have your life terminated, of what use is the adventure?
So, what can really be done to ensure that Nigeria is drug-free? What are the underlying causes of drug abuse? What role should parents play? And what are the signs parents should look out for to know if their children are involved in drugs? These and many more are some of the questions the guests that we have assembled this morning will provide answers to on the program today. My name is Kieran Umayo. Thank you for joining us.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Kieran to also welcome you to the program. Now we have a second topic, and that is on the passage of the Petroleum Industry Bill by the Senate. So after one, then we get into the other. It's Good Morning Nigeria on Friday. We are broadcasting, of course, live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority from our Abuja headquarters studios. The skies are grey this morning in the Federal Capital Territory, and the temperature, I'm not quite sure what it is now, but probably in the mid to the lower 20s. In the meantime, let's join our colleague for the highlights of the morning news today, and he's right here with us in the studios. Let's go ahead with you right now, and that's Dennis Adegunloye. Dennis?
Good morning, Kingsley, and good morning, Kieran. Good morning, Nigeria. Here's the morning news. President Muhammadu Buhari is passionate about ensuring that micro, small, and medium enterprises get the best necessary support from both the federal and state governments. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo stated this at the 28th edition of the National Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises Clinic in Dutse, Jigawa State, where he also distributed agricultural machineries and equipment provided by the state to 922 beneficiaries.
Challenges and bottlenecks that they may be facing. I must also encourage you to bring any of the issues, especially the issues to do with approvals and all of that, to the attention of the MSME Clinic Secretariat between today and tomorrow to get assistance and quick responses from some of the relevant agencies.
His Excellency the President also recently tasked our Vice President, who is leading the steering committee of the National Poverty Reduction and Growth Strategy. Tax was lifting 100 million out of poverty in 10 years. The President believes the Vice President will deliver, and we so believe so.
Chairmen of local government areas have been charged to take personal responsibility in addressing crimes arising from mining activities, as the federal government is coming up with a revenue formula to compensate host communities in the mining industry. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo stated this at the Sustainable Mining Conference with the 774 local government chairmen.
Hiring and equipping of armed groups by illegal but powerful mining concerns in many of our resource-rich areas is clearly fueled by the chaotic regulatory environment. The federal government, states and local governments have to jointly develop working arrangements to ensure that mining is attractive to investors, profitable for states and local governments. We must find a formula for compensating the communities for environmental degradation and erosion.
The Senate has passed the Petroleum Industry Bill, which it says, when signed into law, will reflect the earnings of stakeholders in the oil and gas sector and make the market more competitive in Nigeria.
Those in favor that this bill be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. At least the demons have been defeated in this chamber. We have passed the bill by the grace of God. And let me also say that this is one of the products of the executive and the legislature working together.
House of Representatives, the report on the PIB bill was considered and approved.
A 318 section law It was no mean feat at all. And history, this House, this Ninth Assembly, will be recorded on the right side of history.
The federal government has welcomed the proposal by Pan-African Financial Institution, Afreximbank, to invest $2.5 billion in the Nigerian economy with focus on oil and gas, health and manufacturing sectors. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, while receiving Afreximbank's management in Abuja, says the investments would further reposition Nigeria as an economic hub in Africa.
Also support Nigeria to begin to manufacture pharmaceuticals, especially vaccines, given the situation the world has found itself.
We need every support from financial institutions that have the capacity and the knowledge to help us sustain the modest gains that have been made. In spite of the adverse effect of COVID-19, Nigeria has demonstrated that its economy is resilient.
The federal government has commended the professionalism with which the Nigerian security agencies synergized with their foreign counterparts to arrest the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, and his repatriation to Nigeria to resume his trial. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed stated this at a media briefing in Abuja.
While the investigation continues, we assure you that none of the collaborators, irrespective of their standing in the society, they will all face the full wrath of the law for their activities that challenge our nation's sovereignty and threatens its unity.
Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, has reiterated President Muhammadu Buhari's poise to continue to work for the progress of the country with a quest to build stronger democratic institutions and a culture that drives development. Adesina, speaking while receiving an award from the Progressive Councillors Forum, PCF, Thursday, assures that the administration also welcomes partnerships that will propagate the policies and actions of President Buhari's government, especially in communities. Presenting the award, titled Warrior of Truth and Tangible Development, to Mr. Adesina, the chairman of the PCF, says the decision to recognize his efforts in ensuring effective communication was collective, adding that the organization will continue to support the work of the administration. The chairman of the PCF also praised the presidential spokesman for always standing for the truth, adding that most of his sacrifices and dedication to informing people on what is right and fair will be appreciated by many, while others will be more candid in assessments after he has left office. Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has announced 74 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria. The latest figures released bring the total number of confirmed cases to 167,692 infections in the country. Breakdown of the new cases from 10 states indicates that Lagos recorded the highest number for the day with 49 new cases, Ondo 12, Oyo and River States 3 new cases each, as well as Kaduna recording 2 cases. The day's tally is completed by Ekiti, the FCT, Gombe, Jigawa, and Ogun states recording a single case each. With the latest developments, 164,273 total cases have been successfully treated and discharged. 2,121 patients have unfortunately died of the virus. Well, that's the morning news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues very shortly with Kingsley and Kieran after this break. Good morning.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Like every mother, I'm worried about dangerous insects, especially mosquitoes, which spread diseases like malaria to my loved ones. This year, I'm not afraid. I'm using new Mortein Insta-Kill. New Mortein Insta-Kill's improved formulation knocks down mosquitoes 2 times faster. Not even a single mosquito is spared because even one mosquito bite can cause malaria. Mortein Insta knocks down mosquitoes 2 times faster.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth entrepreneurship support years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youth, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
It's the dawn of a new era on NTA's flagship program, the Sports Parliament, revitalized with lots of varieties, including feedback responses from viewers. Sports Parliament, the weekly sports show that exposes all the intrigues in the Nigerian sports sector and projects an agenda on the way forward for Nigerian sports. On NTA every Thursday at 10:30 p.m., running for 1 whole hour, discussing sports. The parliamentarians are more committed than ever to enlighten the viewers as the Sports Parliament takes it to a whole new level on the floor of the House. Keep a date with the Sports Parliament as motions are moved every Thursday on the floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, with his gavel to harmonize sports resolutions. The House have it.
You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. The business news is next, and here is our correspondent, Kunle Adeye.
The federal government has committed a lot of resources to boost local rice production in the country. The Anchor Boras project is a distinguished one in this regard. The ban on the importation of rice has also helped in local rice production. Despite this level of commitment, soil nitrogen deficiency and drought have been cited as major constraints to rice production in the country. Researchers are now saying government should look inwards in addressing these challenges.
The application of biotechnology tool to improve the quality of our local rice seeds will usher us into tremendous avalanche of wealth, job creation, and a healthier environment. Improved nitrogen use efficiency within rice production system will increase crop yields, lower contents of nitrogen fertilizer deficit, reduce its soil nutrients depletion, and protect water quality.
The researchers say this will sustain government costs to diversify the economy. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeye.
Well, thank you, Kunle, for that business package. And next on Good Morning Nigeria is a review of the National Daily's newspaper review.
Newspaper reviewer Bayo Tebe is with us in the studios. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Kinsley. Good morning. Good morning, Kirian.
Yeah,
good
but
morning,
good to see
Nigeria.
you.
Is it raining already? Or
Not yet.
the skies are still gray?
The skies are seeding gradually.
Okay.
All right, let's begin with the Nation newspaper. Above the nameplate, DSS declares Igboho wanted after arms recovery in home raid. It has 4 riders. Afenifera, ARG, ARC, OPC condemn action. Agitator cancels rally. 2 of my men killed. Police says stay off Lagos. The story is on page 4. Lagos bound ISWAP chief arrested in Ogun. That story is on page 3. Buhari projects 900 billion naira for subsidy in 2022. The story is captured on page 5 of the Nation. The news story this morning is on the federal government. We are going after IPOB leader Kanu's backers. With 2 riders, he instigated killing of 60 in 4 months. Autumn urges government to act on killer headers. All right, and Senate House split on fund for host communities. That's against the backdrop of the PIB law passed after almost 13 years. All right, and of course at the foot of the Nation, a Twitter ban in national interest. Some page 6, Ganduje false critic of Agric, as on page 31. Kinsley.
All right, Kirian, let's take a look also at the Daily Trust newspaper. From below the name flag, you have the following headlines. Federal government writes Western diplomats, lists Kanu's atrocities. Fresh crisis looms as Yari and Marafa reject Boni's declaration of Matawale as leader. That's in Zamfara State. Federal government targets 900 billion naira for petrol subsidy in 2022. And the list story says NNPC commercialized as Senate passes PIB. 3 riders to that. PPPRA, PEF scrapped. PPPRA is the Petroleum Pricing Regulatory Agency. PEF is the Petroleum Equalization Fund. Host communities to get $500 million annually. Reps consider an OK report. And the photographs there on the front page of the Daily Trust are said to be the guns and charms and gadgets recovered from the residence of Sunday Igboho and some of the persons who were arrested when the DSS stormed that residence in Ibadan early yesterday, being Thursday. DSS declares Igboho wanted, confirms raid on his residence. Details on page 6. Zakzaki, Kaduna court to rule on no case submission July 28th. Reject anti-press bill, Center tells Nigerians. Ayo.
Thank you, Kinsley. Let's start with the good news from the National Assembly. The 2 chambers of the National Assembly have passed the Petroleum Industry Bill yesterday. The bill was passed by a committee of the whole of the Senate and the House of Representatives after a clause-by-clause consideration of his 319 clauses. Speaker Gbajabi Amila commended honorable members for making Nigeria proud. The Senate President Ahmed Lawan said, demons of the Petroleum Industry Bill have been defeated. The Petroleum Industry Bill has been in the works in the legislature as far back as 2008. Daily Trust lists some of the highlights. Commercialization of NNPC to a limited liability company, the scrapping of the Petroleum Equalization Fund and the PPPRA, Petroleum Pricing Regulatory Agency, 6 months after the bill comes into effect. 30% of profit from oil and gas for exploration is to be dedicated to frontier basins. 3% of operating expenditure of oil companies is for the development of host communities. The bill has 5 distinctive chapters, 319 clauses, and 8 schedules. Reactions have followed the passage of the bill. The presidency says the PIB bill jinx has been broken. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources says that The bill provides clarity and confidence greatly required by the industry. Industry analysts say that the bill will grant fresh impetuses for new projects in oil and gas across the country. Other experts say that it means jobs for Nigerians, and it will also bring international capital into the economy. Nigeria's economy is to witness exponential growth. That is the petroleum industry bill that engaged the House of the two chambers of the National Assembly yesterday. But at the House of Representatives, the House considered a report from its 4 committees: the Committee on the Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Value, Telecommunication, Information and Communication Technology, Justice, as well as National Security and Intelligence. They were to review the suspension of the federal government of a block platform performance in Nigeria. The highlights of the report indicate that, said that time should be allowed the federal government and the blocks platform to conclude ongoing dialogue for amicable settlement. Secondly, the National Broadcasting Commission and the Nigerian Communication Satellite are enjoined to live up to their mandate and do the needful to avoid future occurrence. Government was also cautioned to take cognizance of the negative effect of the suspension on the livelihood of Nigerians who depend on the platform. The freedom of expression, the report said, though not absolute, sometimes present contending issues. Nevertheless, the report says national security must be guaranteed at all times, and free speech must also be protected. Now, talking about crime and criminality, Minister of Information has provided background that led to the arrest of Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, who jumped bail and was trailed by security men for over 2 years. He is alleged to have lived a 5-star life across countries, traveling in chartered private jets and living in luxury. He says forensic investigation revealed that a trove of information has shown that he has collaborators. Minister Lai Mohammed assured that none of the collaborators will be spared from facing the full wrath of the law. He says that the challenging for them to have challenged our nation's sovereignty and also threatened its unity. Many are calling for a fair trial, he says, but didn't he get the fair trial before he jumped bail? He declared, "I can assure that the fair deal he denied many of his victims of violence he willfully instigated through broadcasts and tweets will not be denied him." And Ibadan, the Department of State has confirmed that, based on information they had, they carried out a raid at the residence of Mr. Sunday Adeyemo, otherwise known as Sunday Igboho. Mr. Afunaya, who is the spokesperson for defense, says that at the raid, security men were fired on and they were able to subdue his bodyguards. 2 of them were neutralized and the others were apprehended. In the gun battle, a security man sustained an injury on the hand and he has also been treated. Mr. Afunaya says that Adeyemo is on the run. He should surrender himself to the appropriate authorities. Meanwhile, 13 suspects, 12 male and 1 female, were arrested and brought to Abuja. Items recovered from them include 7 AK-47 assault rifles, 3 pump-action guns, 30 fully charged AK-47 magazines, and 5,000 rounds of ammunition. There were several other items that include amulets and voodoo charms, which unfortunately did not work for them. There are laptops and communication gadgets. Also in Kogi State, Kogi State government says that a state security setup comprising security, vigilance, and hunters are recording successes. The latest is a kidnapper member who operates in Otoyi Forest. Otoyi Forest is between Kogi and Niger State. A member of the group came to buy foodstuff and he was apprehended by the hunters. He was escorted to the enclave and there was a gun battle and 3 of them were neutralized. This brings to 3 such instances in Kogi. There was one at Okehi local government, another at Kotunkarve, and this time, this one at Otoyi Forest. So Kogi is able to...
all the forests in Nigeria, have been infested by
bandits,
criminals,
yes.
and kidnappers as well. Of course, bandits are also kidnappers, because of course when they abduct individuals, of course they look for ransom for their release. I mean, the thing is actually increasing by the day from all indications.
The positive indication is that with collaboration with hunters, people of local entity who are familiar with the terrain, security agencies are achieving more successes.
Okay, well, fine. We're talking about forest. There's a story. It's a snapshot at page 35 of the Daily Trust. You can see that there. It says 1 month's impact, planting 152 million trees in 10 years. And this is happening in Africa. In Senegal, it says Haida El Ali, a former minister of ecology in Senegal, has been planting trees since 2009. And what he has done has produced one of the most historical successes in modern large-scale reforestation. Now, part of what they are doing is that they are replanting the Senegalese mangrove swamp. In the Niger Delta, we have the mangrove swamp, yes, which of course has been polluted by oil exploration and production activities. What he has done is that he has mobilized Senegalese and hand planting of the mangrove. They have now done, according to them, over 152 million trees. These are the kind of stories that you find heartwarming, and these are the kind of stories that also should serve as an inspiration to others. We have this great green wall that's supposed to be across the Sahelian region right up to the end of the African continent on the eastern flank. But just how much of it are we doing? How many trees have we planted? How many trees have we groomed? In the rainforest region now, of course, the loggers are all at work at every time. And even these days, I won't be surprised if they are not taking down pawpaw trees and they're using the stem as log, because you no longer have the kind of timber that you used to have in the past.
Yes, sadly, since the advent of the military regime, the annual campaign we used to have about tree planting, in fact, there was a deliberate effort to build what they call the Saharan belt to arrest the desertification. Yes, thank you very much. But that has stopped for a long time ago. And coupled with that, there was a deliberate policy to divert attention from deforestation, especially people felling down trees and using it for firewood. The recent high cost of kerosene has now forced people to go back to the forest and use firewood. And therefore, our forest is under serious threat. And unless this campaign is emulated and carried out, we will stand.
You rightly said it, the high cost of kerosene. In our localities, people, a good number of Nigerian families depend, largely on firewood to cook their food and charcoal. But charcoal is not found; is not in every part of the country, right? So, in the southeast, for instance, majority actually are dealing with firewood, and of course, you can't get firewood without felling trees, as the case may be. Just last week, the governor of Enugu State was. He issued warning. The popular Milliken Hill, in Enugu, people are there felling trees there, and it's very, very, very risky doing that. But you find people felling trees there and cutting them into pieces for firewood or whatever uses.
It is dangerous, Kirian, because before you know it, once the forest cover of the Milliken Hill is denuded,
yes,
then erosion
sets in. Yes,
exactly. Erosion sets in. Yes. Well, in the case of this story about Senegal, I hope that some persons are not going to start organizing study tours one of these days to go to Senegal to see how this one was done. So you spend extra code sending team after team to go and understudy what has been done. If we have an example to kick off in our own environment, why don't we just kick off and get it done?
We had it here. All we need to do is to revive it.
Absolutely. Now, there's a photograph there. That's sign language, also on page 35 of the Daily Trust newspaper. You find all these signs from time to time in different locations. Watch that, Bayo and Kirian. Say, please, don't piss here.
And
well,
the piece is
please don't piss here.
Don't piss here.
There's obviously an error, but is there a communication?
Well, I wouldn't know. Well, don't piss here. There's one of them that I found funny, hilarious, if you like, in addition to what we just saw now. You know, they tell you that African jurisprudence is something that is probably more efficacious than the Western jurisprudence. When you write a sign on the wall or at a location, says, do not urinate here, or if you urinate here, you will face prosecution. People will still go there and urinate. Then there was a sign that was published some time ago. It said, look, please urinate here. We need your urine for rituals. And then they had small receptacles, you know. Nobody ever went there.
And that one actually communicated more than
Okay, all right, Bayo. I think that that's basically it. I mean, we'll watch out for other stories and then see how the matters will unfold. We'd like to wish you a lovely weekend.
Thank you very much.
See you again on Monday. All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria live on NTA's network service. We're taking a short break now. When we return, two topics, of course. One, we're returning again to the war against drug abuse, plus the Senate passage of the PIB. That's one leg down, and then we're waiting for the other legs before it becomes the PIA, that's the Petroleum Industry Act. Take a short break now.
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
Like every mother, I'm worried about dangerous insects, especially mosquitoes, which spread diseases like malaria to my loved ones. This year, I'm not afraid. I'm using new Mortein Instakill. New Mortein Instakill's improved formulation knocks down mosquitoes 2 times faster. Not even a single mosquito is spared because even one mosquito bite can cause malaria. Mortein Insta knocks down mosquitoes 2 times faster.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest asset the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth entrepreneurship support, yes, by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Well, thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria for today. And of course, to set the tone for our conversation this morning, which is war against drug abuse, as the first segment of our discussion this morning, here is Ekene Ndulue with the background report.
Drug abuse is emerging as a global public health issue, with the World Drug Report of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime showing that globally, 585,000 persons died in 2017 due to drug use. In Nigeria, the burden of drug abuse is on the increase and becoming a public health concern, even as the country has developed a reputation as a transit point for heroin and cocaine intended for European, East Asian and North American markets. Not only has Nigeria been reputed as a transit nation for drugs, it has also emerged over the past decade as a significant producer of methamphetamine, a highly addictive and illegal psychostimulant drug. The 2018 UNODC report on drug use in Nigeria reveals that 1 in 7 persons had used a drug in the past year, while 1 in 5 of these individuals is suffering from drug-related disorders. A lot of reasons have been given as to why people, especially the youth population, tend to abuse drugs. From experimenting, relaxation, rebellion, and so on. Whatever the reason for drug abuse, health officials and law enforcement agencies have consistently warned against the effects, which include a weakened immune system, lung disease, stroke, and brain damage. Over the past years, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, under various leadership, has made concerted efforts to stem the tide in abuse of illicit substances. Though CEO of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency in general specifies the onslaught against drug abuse in Nigeria, how far so far? This is the focus of today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much, Ekene Ndulue. This is actually part 2 of the conversation. We had the first part last week, and 2 of the guests who were with us last week are also here with us again today to continue with the conversation. The third guest will be joining us from one of our national network centers. Here in the Abuja studios, let's welcome once again Otumba Lanre Ikpemisho, former Director General of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA. Otumba, pleasure to have you again on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigeria, and thanks for having me again.
Okay. Also here with us in the studios is Chuks Akamodo, his president, Center for Ethical Rebirth among Nigerian youth. Chuks, delighted again to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
I'm privileged to be here, sir, once more.
And we have from our Ibadan Network Center, Dr. Jibril Abdulmalik, consultant, psychiatrist, University College Hospital, Ibadan, and founder of Asido Foundation. Dr. Abdulmalik, you're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Abdulmalik, let's begin this conversation today with you. As I said last week, we had both Otumba Ikpemisho and Chuks Akamodo here with us in the Abuja studios. There is a sense in which, following the declaration of the war against drug abuse, that's WADA, that drug abuse is now being seen as a public health issue. As a consultant, as a practitioner, what is your take on this? Is drug abuse really a public health issue? And if so, how concerned should we be?
Thank you very much, Oga Kingsley. Now, this is a very important topic. I can't emphasize it enough. I'm actually delighted at the new vigor that the NDLEA is pursuing under the current chairman and task force it is a public health emergency globally, because the trend is that there's a spike and it's rising consistently. In fact, the UNODC predicts that by 2030, there will be a 40% increase in drug abuse problems in low and middle income countries, of course, including Africa. So the challenge is, are we prepared? Do we have the resources? Do we have the treatment facilities? Do we have the professionals, especially when we are still having a lot of brain drain? Should we continue to pretend and behave like the ostrich that there is no problem? Of course there is a problem. So the war is critical. This awareness and sensitization is fundamental. It is long overdue. It should have started 20 years ago. Thank you.
All right, still staying with you, Dr. Abdul Malik, as a practitioner, we may like to know the kind of cases that you are dealing with, at the University College Teaching Hospital, because last week one of our guests, who is also here this morning, he actually introduced new type of drugs that are now in circulation. He talked about the flakka. He also talked about the Colorado, because we used to know cannabis, heroin, cocaine, and what have you. Are you having new cases of persons who are indulged in the use of this Colorado flakka, or even heroin, as the case may be? Are you having such experience in that hospital at the moment?
Thank you very much. Yes, we are, because you see, the same way we do research to improve effectiveness of medications, to improve the yield of cassava, for instance, and other things like that, we also have people who are engaging in illicit drug trafficking. And it's a multi-billion-dollar global trade, right, with the cartels in Latin America and Europe, and including transit countries. So it's a big business. And they are also investing in research to improve the potency of their drugs. And the more potent it is, the stronger the grip it has on its users. And because once you then get hooked, you have to keep buying. And so it's very lucrative for them. So we are seeing, 30 years ago, we just say cannabis. But now cannabis has levels. There are different grades. Okay, there's the Colorado, there is Loud, there is AK-47, all sorts of, categories of cannabis that we have pawpaw. So it's not just plain cannabis anymore. It's cannabis that is 4 times more potent. Some are, spiced with other chemicals like angel dust, which is actually a stimulant, and so on. So it gives them more euphoria, more high. So I think the biggest challenge we are seeing in our practice, things like cocaine, heroin, are still not very common, partly because it's very, very expensive. So the biggest challenges we are seeing in our practice, and which from my colleagues across the country is similar, is the variants of cannabis that are more potent, as well as opioids. Opioids, codeine, tramadol, rohypnol, and all of those ones. So that is the pattern we are seeing. And we are seeing this very commonly among young people, including students, secondary school, university, tertiary institutions, male and female. Very important to also add that. Thank you.
Dr. Abdul Malik, thank you very much there for your opening salvo. Well, of course, we'll return to you in the course of the conversation. Let's come back to the studios. Atumba Larry Gbimisho. Well, we started this conversation last week, and already Dr. Abdul Malik has elaborated on the scope of this public health emergency. What is it, away from, say, even the law enforcement ambit, to say, look, you are picking up people who have these drugs, X, Y, Z, or you are picking up persons who are trafficking in this. What patterns are you seeing, either in terms of trafficking or in terms of consumption? I'm asking this question advisedly because I recall that in one of our previous editions of Good Morning Nigeria some years ago, it was highlighted that some housewives in some parts of the country were also into drug abuse on account of marital issues. So what is it that we are seeing now, so in the last 5 years, and therefore what could be the prognosis going forward?
Thank you once again, NTA, for being in the lead in ensuring that we cleanse Nigeria of drugs for the safety and the required environment for us all to grow and live. Like I said earlier, behavioral it is. Challenges come here and there. For students, it's peer pressure that's largely responsible. And for a certain percentage of the students, is maybe destabilization in family setup. Puts a lot of pressure on them. Suddenly, mom is not in the house anymore, so the atmosphere is getting very hostile, and somebody suggests that you can take care of this with some stuff. Then, when you compel them on certain courses, it puts a lot of pressure on them. And these days, the slightest thing, your friends are there by the corner. You say that, why are you bothering yourself? So these are little things that should put off the way of children. And how do you do that? Discuss these things with them. Oh, mathematics, yeah, I had challenges, but there are ways out. I'll get an extra teacher and all that. You should take this problem, and if you are not available, you can't address them. That's why parents throw money at them. Oh, money, take. And this money encourages them to take care of their friends with buying stuffs. So, like the past 5 years, the economic situation has not helped matters. You see, the government has tried a lot to try to push money to people's hands. Maybe in the nearest future, these people should collaborate with NDLEA and other agencies like that can gainfully get these children involved in activities that will take them off feeling not employed. At least you will earn some living. We'll collaborate with agencies like NDE, give you training that can take care of your needs and give you hope for the future. There's nothing that pushes most of these youth to drugs other than hopelessness. Hopelessness. The level of hopelessness is too much. Now that recruitment in government services appear to be transparent, they are a little bit more patient. I see them every day struggling to get jobs. Somebody who is going to destroy his life with AK-47, like the doctor said, or Colorado, he will not be applying for jobs. He wants to live. That's why he's running around for jobs. And if government is able to coordinate this issue of employment very well. I say coordinate because you see somebody getting a job in 4 places. Another person has not got a job for 15 years. Which means these vacancies are there, don't leave these vacancies for your children alone. Let it spread. If not, when they come back from work, they will not have peace. Because these other ones that you didn't allow them to find a place, they will not allow them to have peace. So when we are all embracing our thoughts as a people, it will begin to percolate and affect the children in the neighborhood. They will begin to, so this man knows I'm here. And that was how things were those days. But with the high fences we have all over the place now, it's difficult. And the tinted glasses, nobody to give you succor and say that, don't worry, I have a way out for you. So, in essence, if we keep enforcing without taking care of these problems, the enforcement from that angle is stronger. Hunger is stronger than being locked up in police cell. Maybe that place, they can't afford not to give him food for 48 hours. So these are all the things that are compounding. So let us begin to take care of the challenges and see whether these children don't want to live. Like I don't want to mess up my brain because I have hope for tomorrow. The same thing with my bank officials and all these people. When you have hope for tomorrow, you don't want to destroy yourself. In some of our places now, as early as 9 o'clock, people gather in groups and they begin to drink. So, assuming this situation changes for the better in another 5 years, where will your liver be? Where will your organs be? What will be the situation of your organ, of your brain? This is why we're appealing that if you have challenges now, yeah, it's global, particularly with the arrival of COVID. There's onslaught of worse economic situations all over the place. But it won't continue like this. So why will you destroy yourself before the time that you're going to get a job? Now, unfortunately well, there are going to be tests now in most of these agencies where you are even looking for jobs for drugs. You are going to be subjected to drug tests, and there you are, if you are found to not to qualify for a job again. So I believe that like the effort we're making now is more on discouraging people from going into this, rather than all about enforcement. Yes, we're after the sellers. Those who are using, they are not criminals. If you catch him, there's nothing you can do other than to counsel him and look for the guardians and to say that your ward has a problem. We met him at a smoking point. That's all that you can do. Because the position of the world is that, no, smoking, drinking, and all this addiction is all health issue. It's not a criminal. So I believe that the campaign, as is going on now, will help a lot. There are a lot of them. About 3 months ago, somebody just went casually for a birthday party. She had never taken these things before. And the stuff was served with cake or something, and she jumped overboard and died. So there are cases of somebody who is not aware at all, and we believe that these messages will reach them. That is not in every party you just eat everything that is available. Try to find out, please, what do you have here? Particularly when they say they segregate and put some of them in some upper rooms and they are serving something different, you should be on your guards. Because actually, if you have the misfortune of the first attempt of some of these drugs, you may get hooked from there. There is no second chance.
All right, sir. Thank you indeed. Let us not lose sight of the fact that it's not just the youth that use these drugs. The president, in his speech last week, made mention of the fact that it's cutting across generations, grandparents, parents, and of course children. And also last week, we will recall that one medical doctor was arrested for baking cakes made of cannabis and of course other illicit drugs. This in form of cake and all that. So
yes.
yes, so we have professionals, medical doctors, lawyers, professionals of diverse subjects that are into drug. As well, it rightly pointed out that you must not be a criminal to use drugs. Some use drugs, like you said, for for fun, getting high and what have you. So let me come to you, Chukwu Akamado. Why is it that this drug abuse is pervasive? Not just the youth, perhaps the youth, the preponderance of the youth, of course, will be on the high side, so to speak, but then other individuals who are matured, who are educated, are also in it. Of what benefit is this drug use that have made all sections of persons to be involved in it? I will quickly also mention about housewives, who also are engaged in their drug abuse.
Well, I think that generally there is this lowering of standards in the society. Our values are dwindling, and it's pervasive. It cuts across generations. What is happening as regards the prevalence of drug abuse in the country is no different from what is happening in our religious institutions. It's not different from what is happening in our political system. It's not different from what is happening in our in the economic sphere. Generally speaking, the standards of the society as regards values are going down. That said, for me, I think that the major problem has to do with the fact that we took this issue for granted. We treated it with levity, like the expert that joined us from Ibadan said, this whole thing ought to have started, say, 20 years ago. You see, when Nigeria realized that we had an issue, it dates back to 1935. That was when we had the Dangerous Drug Act. In 1966, we now had the Indian Hemp Act. In 1998, in 1989, we had the NDLEA Act. And in 1993, we had the NAFDAC Act. Having realized way back that this was a challenge to the society, I believe we ought to have taken this issue a lot more seriously, because it's turned into an epidemic that is about consuming all of us. But that being the case, I am thinking that at the moment, we have to look at the body of laws that we have regarding drug abuse and how best to go about law enforcement as one front of the war. Then this other front is, how do we go about drug demand reduction? Because enforcement can only take care of drug supply reduction. Drug demand reduction has to do with prevailing the would-be user, prevailing on the would-be user not to try it at all, in his or her enlightened self-interest. That is where I think the focus should be at the moment. Then the NDLEA itself, since Section 3 of the NDLEA Act, gives it the powers to collaborate with other government bodies, whether within Nigeria and outside, as regards the drug thing. I think that the NDLEA should also reach out, is reaching out, but we need to see more action as regards bringing states and local government involved in what we're doing. Subnationals should play complementary roles. Then the judiciary also should begin to take issues of drug offenses a lot more seriously. When NDLEA takes matters to court as regards those who are caught with drug trafficking, supply here and there, the judges should also see it as a special area of concern as we see corruption today, and make sure that they give such matters preferences by way of giving accelerated hearing. Then the legislature also has to realize that they have a role to play at the moment. There should be a holistic review of all our extant laws regarding drug abuse in this country. That way, what we will be doing is to galvanize a critical mass that will make the society wake up to the reality that this is an emergency that is threatening all of us, our collective existence as a people. It is at that time that the mother at home will realize that, the mother and father at home will realize that a major factor in this whole thing is the low quality of parenting that we have these days. If you see most photographs of children, babies taking shisha, babies taking hard drugs, it's their parents, it's adults that are taking those videos, and they put it out there on social media. Things that are downright unconscionable. How dare you do that? I cannot see worse abuse than that. For a baby as young as 4, 5, 6, and you now expose them to such things. How do you now expect them to grow up to become teenagers tomorrow? So low quality of parenting is another major problem. That means there is need for the nation to now take this war against drug abuse that was officially launched last week as a national priority. If it is funding, let us realize that this is more important than 2023 general election.
Yeah.
Let us realize that what Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning are doing as regards economy, they are not as important as saving the very soul of the nation. Because what are we planning for as a nation? What election are you talking about that will come in, that will take place in 2003? When you are not even sure of those who will take over the baton from the leaders we have at the moment. And Otumba, please, let me disagree with you on the one hand. Yes, I agree that government, federal, of course, subnationals, have a duty to provide jobs. No one can excuse them at all, at all. Federal government, state government, local government should find a way of making the environment enabling for jobs to be created, for the private sector to do the needful. Yes, but I don't like a situation whereby we excuse vices. Things can never be perfect in any society. This is wrong, this is wrong. Let us call a spade by its name. Drug abuse is wrong. I don't care what excuse you give. You are destroying yourself, you're destroying your family, you're destroying the society itself. So how good can excuse be to justify what you're doing to yourself, what you're doing to everybody? Please let us not excuse it at all, at all. The individual has a moral obligation to stay away from that which is harmful to himself, to family, and the larger society.
All right, Chooks, Akamadu, thank you very much there for your comments. Let's return to our Ibadan Network studios with the consultant psychiatrist, Dr. Jibril Abdul Malik. Dr. Abdul Malik, well, one critical aspect in this war will be drug demand reduction. Earlier, you indicated that, look, this is a public health emergency, but that we have issues with facilities. We also have issues with professionals, now exacerbated by the brain drain. In seeking to win the war on that front of drug demand reduction, what is it that we need to be doing at this time? And you may wish to preface your response by also taking on this point. If we have indeed a public health emergency, are we as a society living in denial? Is it something that we consider shameful? To say that, look, this is a family embarrassment, don't bring it out so that we don't get to be shamed by the others. Oh, no, it's happening to other people. It's not happening to me. It's not happening to us. So let them face it. Is that an issue that might impair the efficacy of the current war that has just been launched against drug abuse?
Right. Thank you very much, Kingsley. This is absolutely, in fact, you just hit the nail on the head with your last statement. And that is the fact that we are a very judgmental, albeit hypocritical society. And we are very moralistic publicly, but in our private life, we all indulge in so many things. Right? And because of that, there is the associated shame and stigma of coming out. And that helps to drive it underground. There are, I'm a psychiatrist working in a government hospital. There are parents that will reach out and say, look, my son is having this problem, but we don't want to come to the hospital. Please, can you come and see him at home? And then I said, we don't do home service, right? Because they don't want anybody to know. But the child needs treatment, okay? And that's because of the shame and the stigma. And for us as professionals, as much as possible, we abstain from passing judgment or being moralistic about it. This is not a moral issue. Also, and I would disagree slightly with Mr. Chooks. I know you mean well and you are very passionate. Your passion is very visible, and we share that passion. But the reality is that those individuals, not all of them, but a significant proportion of individuals that get into the habits did so inadvertently or from bad peer pressure. As Otumba had mentioned, we have an example of a student that we had managed who was worried about his academic performance. His exams were closed. He was studying. He wasn't remembering. He was afraid that he was going to fail the exams and be a disappointment to his parents at home. And then, unfortunately, he sought for advice from the wrong crowd, his roommates, who were doing better than him. They are studying the same course academically, and those ones told him that it's cannabis, that if you take it, your brain will light up, your memory will be stronger, you have stamina, everything you read, you remember, and you do well, that the ideas will just be flowing. And he said, eh, and they said yes. And he tried it once, and he went psychotic. He had to be admitted in our ward. So there are many individuals, and these drugs are very addictive. Once you get hooked, it becomes very, very difficult to break that habit. And so for many of these individuals, from our point of view, we are sympathetic, we show them empathy, and we want to help them professionally as much as possible without being judgmental about it or saying that you are doing this to yourself and all of that. Unfortunately, that is an attitude that is not very helpful. Why should we address this as a public health emergency? Because it is very strongly linked to peace in our society. The nexus, the link between drug use and crime is so very well established. In fact, the United Nations has the same organization, agency, United Nations Organization for Drugs and Crime Control. Because where there is high drug trafficking, it will be linked to prostitution, it will be linked to criminal offenses, and so on and so forth. So you can directly correlate the upsurge in criminality in our society with the upsurge in drug abuse, because they need money to feed that habit. And so they will steal, they will rob, and so on. And then to be able to even do the crime, they take the drugs so that their eyes will be, they will be emboldened to commit atrocities. And I mean, we know from reports in the Northeast that in the camps where they've dislodged bandits and Boko Haram, they leave a catch of psychoactive drugs, which because you need to be high on some drugs to carry out some of the atrocities they do carry out. So it's a public health emergency. And unfortunately, we don't have enough doctors in Nigeria. I'm rounding up, please, so I don't talk for too long. We don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough nurses. We don't have enough mental health professionals, psychiatrists, clinical psychologists, psychiatric nurses. We don't have enough treatment. And indeed, even in the best of treatment centers anywhere in the world, the best treatment is prevention. Because you go into rehabilitation in New York or wherever you are, you come back, you are detoxified. Many of them will subsequently relapse and go back into the habit. So our best bet is prevention, drug demand reduction. And for this, I would recommend that it must be a multifaceted approach. National Orientation Agency, NTA, thank God for the NTA, for your reach and for spearheading this awareness creation. We need to create awareness, we need to reorientate people, and we need to reduce access to it. Every motor park in Nigeria, every motor park, they are selling psychoactive substances there. The drivers that will grab the wheels, right, and carry consumers and passengers and be on the road. Even if you are driving at 80 kilometers, you're using your seatbelt, your car is safe. That one that is high on psychoactive substance will face you head on, and you are the one that will enter the bush for him. So those are the challenges. A public health emergency. We need to really appreciate the magnitude of the crisis facing us and begin to apply different strategies, including orientation, prevention, drug supply reduction, demand reduction. All of these are very important. Thank you.
All right. Actually, on the issue of drug supply reduction, that's very, very pertinent to this conversation, because sometimes even when you jail a drug user, or even those who have not tasted drugs in the first place, while in jail there, people introduce drugs to him while incarcerated. So how did he get there? So that's why I was concerned mostly about the pervasiveness of drug use in the country. That is not just the youths, it's not just the rascals or the criminals, but some gentlemen and ladies are also involved in this. As a matter of fact, when Bomarwa came on board, well, if I'm right, I had a statement that all the staff of NDLEA are going to be tested for drugs. And in one of your statements, you talked about the issue of responsible persons being involved in this. If you attempt to carry out drug tests on Nigerian workers, or even those seeking to work, you will be marveled at what you're going to see, because we have a lot of drugs that are being abused, and people are doing it gently and going their way. You must not be a criminal to use drugs. Even snuffing of tobacco is also part of drug abuse, all right, because it gets straight into the brain for those who are snuffing, tobacco, and or even cigarette smoking and all that. Now, but let me ask you this: but how can the youth be involved in the war against drug? What kind of template can be put in place to ensure that the youth from all sections of the country can be directly involved in this fight? Because, of course, we want to save the younger generation.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, your approach is actually the agenda, the main agenda of NDLEA at the moment and federal government. That is to say that, okay, if you say about 15 to 18% are already hooked on drugs or taking drugs or using drugs, how about the 85% that have not gone near? How do you protect them? That is basically your question. We're also worried that it's almost getting to a point that if you don't use drugs now, you have to pretend to be using, to form part of these groups, to be relevant in schools. And that is very worrisome. That the pressure will come and you are almost going to be in the minority of the boys that are happening on the campuses. So how do we protect and let the boys know that, no, you are of a noble birth. You don't follow somebody like that. You don't follow somebody, they should follow you. Because you are you have a noble birth, you have future, you are from good parents. Now, the campaign we're on now is how do we ensure that those who are in come out, but those who have not gone in, which is 85% of the people, how do we ensure that they don't go in there? That's what we're doing, to show you that I've never seen somebody who come and say, thank God I take drugs. That's what is helping my life. No. I've never seen somebody who say, thank God. It is that, oh God, I caused the first day I came across it. And I've interviewed quite a lot that I interview of users, is that are there times that you wake up and you swear that you never take it? Say several times, sir. And they will be crying. And the next thing, after he's looking for the next opportunity. That is how drug is. It is not about lack of capacity to say, oh, I want to be governor of CBN tomorrow and all that. No. If it's so easy, it is something, it is behavioral, it is health issue, it is a challenge. Now, see, not realizing that somebody can be so stupid as to say that he wants me to be a Muslim and he killed my father, and that is how to get me to be a Muslim, and you kill my son. Does it have to go with reason? Unless you go put yourself in their shoes, that's when you can control them and say, no, this is not a normal human being. Don't expect normal things from them. And that's why doctor said, which I agree with him, okay, I'll give you a situation. Some of these boys were trying to rehabilitate. One of them said, okay, you are talking about armor tank and all these heavy equipments against us. He said, we know they fear. The only thing they fear now, if we don't have tramadol. If your drug is running out, then you begin to fear. But as long as there is drug, killing goes on. That's why we're thinking that if we're serious about this issue of crisis, and I think we should be damn serious, let's take this drug off these boys, then we can begin to talk. Somebody who is on drug, how do you talk to him? That what? No.
Yeah, which is a very important point. Now, again, you are also elaborating on aspects of the drug supply reduction.
Yes.
In response to the question asked by Kyria. I would like either yourself or Chooks to respond to this. We can, undertake the battle by either going from the top, that's to say doing something exotic, or looking for quick wins.
Just a moment. Let me tell you, there's no drug challenge that started here. There are countries who have been managing it. We're also learning from them. That's why we have UNODC going all over the world to say, okay, this is what has worked here, this is what has worked. One of the things that has worked, like he said, is involve the youth that is in the larger majority, and even women now, like you have said, involve them in your plans for them. Let them drive the campaign. For instance, at 60 something, most likely I'll be talking to you people. You will understand me. But these other ones, you see that everything you offer, you say, I'm okay. And the sister will give him something and he will take.
And you also involve celebrities, because I've seen many celebrities on social media displaying Indian hemp, displaying of drugs, and these young people we were talking about, we believe that if a celebrity can make it to the top, with all the money, by using drugs, of course, I can as well make it. So if you are involving youth, then celebrities have to be involved, and celebrities are highly followed in the social media by this number of youths we're talking about.
It's just like you
if
say.
You are looking for a bad example, may her soul rest in peace.
Yeah.
See what happened to Whitney Houston.
I'm telling
and
you
her
that.
daughter as well.
That's right.
And those are not the people you will tell they don't understand the sweet part of life that I want to work. Drug is not like that. Drug does not make you reason that, oh, this is hell, this is... As far as this is concerned, let me have this for Akimas. That's why they even blow up they blow up themselves without.
You know, Otumba, I want Chooks, maybe you can take this aspect. What I'm actually saying is, in terms of drug supply reduction, sometimes it is common knowledge that if you go to that street corner, there's a guy who sits there, his name is Mr. X or Mr. Y, you can get this thing from him.
Yeah.
The neighborhood, the patrons recognize that guy is there. Yeah. So why don't we begin by picking up those guys or demarketing their supplies? Sometimes you also find stories being said about itinerant hawkers, all those ones who sell multiples of capsules and all kinds of things on their head. Yeah. These are stories that people retail every day. And yet, we allow them to go about their business. That's what I'm saying, that aren't there low-hanging fruits? Couldn't we conceive of a mechanism or a campaign, as part of the subtext of all of this, in dealing with some of these supply sources, and then you go after the big barons and so on and so forth?
But you would agree with me that there is supply because there is demand. So for me, the low-hanging fruit is to see how we can curtail the demand.
On that score, you are disagreeing with Otumba Ekpemisho. Because, look, Ekpemisho is saying, look, demand is an issue you can deal with. He was giving an example just now.
That.
Bring, an APC, bring APC, that is armored personnel carrier, bring, an armored tank. We don't fear those things. But if you deny me, that's demo. If you deny them of tramadol or other things, then they are in crisis. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, how do you arrest the supply or the availability of that tramadol when we know that by that street corner, it is either in Abuja here, either Zone 4 or somewhere in Wuse 2, near those filling stations where those boys used to hang around. It's in parts of other cities, they would know that this is the man that sells that thing. Everybody just passes by that person, that one are in business.
What Kingsley is saying is out, because in every city, they know the spots where the spots are. Individuals know the spots, even those who don't know them.
Let me tell you, I attended a program with NDLA last year. A person I visited, and the then chairman said, I confirm to you that if you tell me there is a street where I cannot get stuff, narcotics by Nigeria, I'll give you my salary. That's the chairman of NDLA. That is to acknowledge that government is aware of this, but rather than chasing the drops, like you said, of water in a room, why don't you go to where the leakage is coming from? Now, one of the places that have been identified are borders. That was why we had that long closure. Then you ask me, well, but were drugs not coming in then? And let me tell you, the biggest drug seizure you can get will most probably will be where? At the seaports. Those are there put in the pocket, put in ingested. So by the time we hit at these places, and that's what we have started. I'm a member of a committee set up by National Security Advisor to dig into these other areas. And because of the way it is, let us keep it at that. But I can tell you that for you to go and carry container of tramadol from India now and be smiling here, you are going to cry. It's not going to work. This, look, like before, this, what do you call it? Codeine. You see the bottles all over the place. Nigeria is very huge. When you see a government agency or government that is serious, let us just encourage them to go on. You don't see peddling with codeine all over the place like we used to have it now. Yes. We have woken up to tramadol now. You will see that if you get, God forbid, that you get kidnapped somewhere in Zamfara, now they ask for 20 million and 20 cartons of tramadol because they can no longer get it. And somebody said it costs like 2.something billion now for you to be able to clear a container of tramadol. That's the kind of bribe you will pay. So what will make you go into that? So we're tightening the hook on them. But you know how these things are. We have them in our neighborhood. These same boys that are destroying these countries. We have them, isn't it?
No, but I mean, sorry, Otumba, Kirian, and Dr. Abdul Malik. Look, what we are talking about is, yes, it is useful to deal with the headwaters, where the supplies are coming from. But I cannot be participating in an illicit trade and say, look, because I'm an itinerant hawker, I have all kinds of capsules which are deadly in the first instance, and then you can always call me to a corner and I say, look, you have stuff, I will give it to you. If you don't dissuade me from that business, all that will happen is that I will not tell you that, this thing don't scarce now. So the price has also gone up. Yeah. So I will continue to be a mule. I will continue to be a foot soldier, helping to distribute and sell this thing. So why don't we look at those ones that are visible? I do know that in the past, NDLA had actually gone after, there were reports then of certain joints where people were smoking hemp and all kinds of drugs. But if we want to ramp this up, and we know in every city that there are locations where you can find it, just as the example you cited, why don't you go after those persons? They will know that this is not a bad market.
Check the budget of NDLA. We'll talk later.
No, I doubt that. I doubt that the NDLA has enough manpower and resources to undertake this task. For me, we have agreed that a huge majority of young people don't do drugs. How can we harvest this majority who don't do drugs to now unleash them on the ones who do drugs, asking them to be the agents of the society that would stop further infiltration of their rank and file? I think at this point, for us to get this thing right, because my NGO has been on this for the past 19 years, strictly with the young people. And our findings indicate that quite a number of them, a good number of them, are enthusiastic about this fight. But so far, there is no platform for them to complement the effort of the government. I ask Otumba, what stops us from coming up with some form of volunteer call as regards drug abuse? It would shock you how many young people that would come out to say they want to be part of this. Only last week that we held the 3rd National Youth Conference on Drug Abuse. It would amaze you how many young people that trooped out from University of Abuja that wanted to be part of it. But they couldn't come. They said, boss, we told them that we didn't have enough resources to bring all of them. Of course, due to COVID-19 and everything, they all couldn't take all of them. Quite a number of them were stranded. You could see that enthusiasm. It wasn't a political rally that they were coming for. They weren't coming to be given food or money, but they wanted to be part of this change agenda of the present administration to actually arrest this drift and make sure that Nigeria moves on to a point where the future of our youth can be guaranteed. Again, those rehabilitated young people, those who have gone into this, then got their fingers burnt in the process, and today they've been rehabilitated. What are we doing with them? They should be the face of this campaign. How do we harness all of this to ensure that by the time they share their experiences with the
it took about 50 years to destroy things to this level. If it has taken 5 months and the man is now bringing the equipment of the federal government back
Otumba, one second, sir.
Short of time, gentlemen, and possibly we could have this conversation next time, because we cannot exhaust the issue of drug abuse. Drug abuse is pervasive. It's in all nations. In fact, the great nations suffer it. U.S., Britain, name it. All right, and what is required of us is to develop mechanisms to deal with our own local drug abuse. At this point, we'd like to appreciate your comments, agree or disagree with each other. We're going to one direction, to how to stop drug abuse in Nigeria. Otumba Lare, former Director General, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NTA, we thank you for coming. We hope to have you again when we have this topic. Chuks Akamadu, President, Center for Ethical Rebirth among Nigerian Youth. It's been wonderful hosting you this morning on Good Morning Nigeria. Dr. Jibril Abdul Malik, Consultant Psychiatrist, University College Hospital, Ibadan, and founder at CEDAW Foundation. Thank you indeed for sharing your time and your thoughts on this subject matter. All right, you are still watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. We are taking a short break now, but when we come back, we shall be focusing our attention on the Petroleum Industry Bill just passed by the National Assembly yesterday. Do stay with us.
Youths are about the greatest asset the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth Entrepreneurship Support, yes, by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria, pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
It's the dawn of a new era on NTA's flagship program, the Sports Parliament, revitalized with lots of varieties, including feedback responses from viewers. Sports Parliament, the weekly sports show that exposes all the intrigues in the Nigerian sports sector and projects an agenda on the way forward for Nigerian sports. On NTA every Thursday at 10:30 p.m., running for 1 whole hour, discussing sports. The parliamentarians are more committed than ever to enlighten the viewers as the Sports Parliament takes it to a whole new level on the floor of the House. Keep a date with the Sports Parliament as motions are moved every Thursday on the floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, with his gavel to harmonize sports resolutions. The House have it.
The Council of Our Fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Finally, Euro 2020 is here. Enjoy all the matches live on Star Times for only 1,700 naira monthly or 160 naira per day. Recharge now to enjoy all the matches. Watch Cristiano Ronaldo of Portugal, Mbappe of France, Lukaku of Belgium, and other top European football stars. No matter where you are, Star Times is here for you. You can enjoy all these matches on your mobile phone. Just Just download StarTimes On app on your phone to watch all the matches for 1,000 naira monthly or 400 naira weekly. Recharge today with 1,700 naira monthly or 160 naira daily. That's right, you heard me. On StarTimes, you can watch all the matches with monthly subscription of 1,700 naira or daily subscription of 160 naira. Terms and conditions apply. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria live on NTA's network service. We, of course, know that yesterday, Thursday, the 1st of July 2021, the Senate passed the Petroleum Industry Bill. That bill was first introduced in year 2008. Of course, the House of Reps has also considered its own report and adopted it. We are waiting to see what will come thereafter. So let's listen into this backgrounder by our correspondent Ignatius Nkwo before we get on with the conversation with the sole guest.
June 2021 marks the end of an era in Nigeria's top legislative arm of government, the termination of the Petroleum Industry Bill 18 years parliamentary journey. The Petroleum Industry Bill was conceived during the Olusegun Obasanjo administration in 2000 as part of recommendations by the Oil and Gas Sector Reform Implementation Committee, headed by the late Dr. Rilwanu Lukman. Its first legislative courtship with the National Assembly was in the 6th Assembly in 2003 as an executive bill under the late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. Like a new bride, the Petroleum Industry Bill received great acceptance by the legislators in view of its potential to reform Nigeria's oil and gas sector, open up the industry, attract investors, and give adequate attention to host communities. But at the time, it turned out into a parliamentary tug of war, and its courtship with the 6th Assembly did not go beyond second reading. The 7th Assembly also failed to pass it, while the 8th Assembly broke the bill into 4 versions. That is, the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill, Petroleum Hosts and Impacted Community Bill, Petroleum Industry Administration Bill, and the Petroleum Industry Fiscal Bill. That assembly was able to pass only the governance version, which did not receive presidential assent due to some critical observations made by the executive.
Because it had so many what was called impurities then. So many reservations, so much monies were given to different of the agencies under the petroleum. And then Mr. President considered that there will be less money available for the Federation account to distribute.
In virtually every point of engagement, we have had so many challenges. Challenges to do with some political reasons, some issues, even sentiments as regards issues to do with the host communities, issues to do with the cost of oil pricing.
The Ninth National Assembly, in consultation with the executive, ensured that the areas of contention were addressed, especially the regulatory authority and the percentage of dividends to host communities. This time, as a single bill from the executive has been passed by the Senate.
First time in this, within these 2 years, we had a retreat. We never had it before in the history of this assembly. The executive and the legislature will spend 3 days to have a retreat.
The enactment of the Petroleum Industry Bill into law is long overdue, having engulfed huge sums of money for retreats and consultations since 2003. It has seen Nigeria incur losses from regulatory uncertainties in the sector, with some individuals and companies taking advantage of the legal loopholes.
I know you must have caused the federal government huge sums of money doing retreat abroad, even in Nigeria. But the good news is that the oil producing communities in Nigeria will have a sigh of relief with this bill.
The passage of this bill into law is expected to be the game changer that will fully unlock the Nigerian oil and gas sector.
And now I welcome Senator Itai Enang, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs and former ICC to the President on National Assembly. Senator Enang, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, Senator Itai, of course, you also served in the National Assembly for many years, both in the House of Reps and also in the Senate. We know that there's some mix-up in the dates by our correspondent. While giving that background report, President Obasanjo was president in 2006. It wasn't until Yaradua in 2008 that it came on. But the happy news is that at least one major step has now been taken, namely the passage of the bill by the Senate. What should we expect going forward? And what does this milestone mean?
I want to congratulate Mr. President because he has taken one bold step by ensuring that this bill is not introduced as members' bill on the floor, one. Two, he has also ensured that the entire gamut of the laws are put in one and submitted as one law, and not as it were in previous systems of having the governance, the regulatory, the fiscals or financials and so on. So I congratulate Mr. President. I congratulate the National Assembly because they have taken one of the best and the biggest steps. And like the President of the Senate said, I think he said that the devil has been defeated, something near to that, when the bill was passed. So let me congratulate them and also congratulate the Ministry of Petroleum Resources because they took one of the best steps by ensuring that all this were done collaboratively between the House and the Senate. And this means a great lot for the economy of Nigeria, particularly the petroleum sector, because those who are likely to invest in this will now have, upon assent by Mr. President, a legal regime that can advise them to take decisions on investment one way or the other.
I was just wondering, Kieran, just before you pop in your question, despite the fact that both the Senate and the House worked on this jointly, first to save time and all of that, I haven't seen the full report myself. I should place that on the table. There seemed also to have been a disagreement as to what percentage of the expenditure of oil companies will go to the host communities. The Senate reduced it from 5% to 3%, even though Senator Moagege and Sekibo tried to argue for upscaling. But in the House, it seemed to have retained 5%. So what will this mean going forward?
I monitored the situation yesterday fully as advisor on National Assembly on the Niger Delta, and I watched the proceedings, and at the end of it, I also visited the National Assembly, particularly trying to get, getting the full documents of what were passed. What happens in that case is that if there are differences between what the House and the Senate passes, there are always opportunities to have a statutory that there must be conference committee made up of equal number of persons from the Senate and the House, and they will resolve the differences. But I'm sure that I am a lot confident that if there are differences, they are a little minor, and there are something that will be resolved. Because on the question of the host communities, on the question of the amount to be retained by the oil companies and other details, I believe that because there was full conference, one, there was full agreement, two, they were doing it jointly, three, and they had the same consultant, four, and the Ministry of Petroleum Resources brought together all their potentials. I think the secretary of the committee was the executive secretary of Petroleum Technology Development Fund. I think Dr. Kazara something is the secretary of the committee, chaired by the minister. I think the next in command is the GMD of NNPC, and all the heads of parastatals and institutions are members. And then they had the National Assembly members, a few also. They also had there were officers in the presidency who were in the committee. So you had a situation where the whole thing was watertight. so that we're not likely to have a lot of disputes and disputations in the and differences between the House and Senate. It's going to be a question of percentage, and sometimes when we have that situation in the legislature, we take them in.
Now, the bill has been passed. That is that's the good news. Some Nigerians have also said that this is a bill that ought to have been passed several years ago. That there's a lot of time has been wasted, and Nigeria has, of course, lost much, because of this situation. I watched the Minister of State for Petroleum, Timi Silva, yesterday on a network where he complained bitterly about the amount of funds Nigeria has lost in the past. Now, what are the components of this bill that will ensure that this loss is stopped? And again, what is the local content initiative in this? Because, of course, we have most investors in the oil sector to be foreigners. Is there any form of local content in this bill?
Well, I want to say that it will not be appropriate to discuss the entire details of the bill right now, because, like I said, I obtained the copies yesterday. I'm reading through the version by the Senate and version by the House. I want to see the differences between them, and it is only then that you will. And, of course, you will be able to discuss the details of the bill after harmonization, because if I discuss the details of the bill now, I have read much of what the House has passed set on the fiscals. I've read much of what the Senate has passed on the other regulatory and governance sections. No, it is when the harmonized version is passed and then it is certified by the clerk, cleaned by the clerk to the National Assembly, and forwarded to Mr. President. That will be perhaps the appropriate one to be discussed. But on the losses and the local community content, I want to say that I followed the discussion on the bill. I was at the public hearing in the Senate, I was at the public hearing in the House, and all the parties were heard, the communities were heard, the oil companies were heard, the other investors were heard, the potentials were heard, the youth were heard. So I believe that much of the elements of the local content has been taken account of. And also, it was in the course of it that my office organized a national conference on the artisanal refineries. And this was part of what we're trying to integrate as the local content, so that local and artisanal and modular refineries. So these are part of the local content. And of course, there is a level that you must involve the communities. There are also a level that there must be ownership on the part of the host communities, where the oil is drilled, and those that the other infrastructure are passing through. And we want to avoid the kind of thing that we used to call, or they used to call, a global memorandum of understanding, so that we come to localized and particularized memorandum of understanding between the very particular community that hosts the drilling, that hosts the oil, and those that suffer effect outside the point. So all this has been taken account of, and by the time the harmonization is done, which I believe will be very minimal, you'll be able to have a bill that we will be able to advise more. To speak more.
Senator Itai, thank you very much. We all recall that the issue of host communities was a very contentious one. Some months ago, there was actually a bloody punch-up during a hearing organized by the House of Representatives. Some host community representatives who were there in the House ended up in fisticuffs, and some bloodstains on their dresses as well as on the carpet. But something that is unique, some would say also unfortunate, is that just like the Freedom of Information Act that took a very long time to process, the PIB has taken such a long time, and that included the period during which Senator Itai and you were in the National Assembly. Why did it drag so long? What was responsible? Bearing in mind that President Olusegun Obasanjo should actually take credit for this, because he actually kick-started the process through the composition of the Oil and Gas Implementation Committee, OGIC, I think that was in the year 2000 or thereabout, when he was just about a year or so old in office, to seek to reform the Petroleum Act of 1969. But why did it spend so long a time in the National Assembly?
Well, thank you very much. Getting to the your introductory, you remember that, okay, in the course of it, I was present when the fisticuffs arose, and these are persons and the communities that I have been working with in reconciling them, and I've been working with in making inputs. And of course, I was a great part of the, I looked and examined the presentations they were going to make. But when it was, and they agreed in my office, and when it was time to present, it was who was to present. And so that was what. And at the end of it, I want to say that I reconciled both of them in my office. It took long to pass the Petroleum Industry Bill because petroleum is the blood in the artery of the economy of Nigeria. It is the strength and other things in the vein of the economy of Nigeria. And it is the subject of the greatest political contentions in the economy of Nigeria. So it took long to pass. And of course, there were other issues that were responsible. You remember, in 2000, 2004, I chaired the Rules and Business Committee up to 2008, 2007 when we finished. And when we finished the President Obasanjo years, there were many contentious issues, including the host community, including what goes to the what NNPC would take. Under the in my third term in the House, under President Yaradua, succeeded by President Jonathan, a lot of work were also done, but there were so many sabotaging factors, and again, at a point, there were not executive versions of the bill. It was individuals who returned to the assembly that picked up different pieces and brought on the floor. In the second term of the full President Jonathan years, it was introduced, and it was so very contentious. It was so very it was very, very almost bloody on the floor of the Senate. The Senate President, David Mark, managed one of the greatest tensions on the floor in managing for the bill to pass the second reading. And of course, it was at that time that I introduced on the floor an issue on the floor of the Senate, an issue which indeed almost polarized the Senate. And I think it was on that day that the gavel came, that the bill, the following day, the gavel came, it was passed. And I think there was a contention between my submissions and the submissions of the Senator Lawan then from the NPP. The now Senate President. So they were very thick, and finally it was passed. It passed second reading. Now, it didn't pass it couldn't get to the final, because it wasn't assented to, and perhaps it wasn't even passed. But in the last assembly that was under the government of His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, where I served as a senior special assistant on National Assembly matters, it was passed. And it was so everybody expected
one part of it was passed.
Yeah, one of the three parts of it was passed because it was compartmentalized into three sections or bills. One of them was passed. And when it was passed, it was forwarded to Mr. President. And the presidential team examined it. It was syndicated to the Minister of Finance, Minister of Petroleum, the Inland Revenue Service, the Minister of Economic National Planning, as it were. It was syndicated to the All Producer Trade Group. It was syndicated to a lot of the interest groups. And when it came back, it became obvious that if Mr. President assented to the bill, that the economy of Nigeria, the NNPC, will have so much money, And the economy of Nigeria will have so much money at the federal level, but there will be not much money available as profit to be given to the federation account to be shared to the states. And President Buhari considered, look, I am the president. This bill favors the federal government end. But if it favors the federal government end, what amount of money will be available to be shared to the federation in the federation account to get to the state government and to the local government? And it considered that I think one of the agencies wanted to retain 5% of what it makes, and PTDF, a lot of them. There were so many percentages that they all and each wanted to keep. So President Buhari considered that it was not appropriate and fair to Nigeria. And so he declined assent. And above all, one of the greatest elements was that it included some aspects of a repeal of existing laws. And of course, this was only one of the aspects that you have passed. If you pass one of the aspects and you include a repeal clause, and the rest have not been forwarded for assent for us to see, if you repeal in the existing bill, which would become an act if Mr. President assents, then you have repealed provisions of the entire system, whereas you've not gotten a complete picture of the law as it will be. So those were the reasons President Buhari declined assent and said, let me have all of it and send it back to the National Assembly.
You have done a very good explanation of why the bill was delayed, but to many Nigerians, those are no excuses, for delay of 13 years of passing a bill, because...
More than 13, almost 20.
Exactly. So just like the President said the other day, that our problem is not in religion or ethnicity, it is in ourselves. But from what I've explained, these are individual or group of persons that have brought in also all manner of, misgivings and along the line of communication with the rest of the members of the House to ensure that the bill is passed. But now it's passed, no problem. What I want to ask you is this: what do we expect in the coming weeks? In just a few seconds.
What we expect in the coming weeks is that the clerk to the National Assembly will compare the version passed by the House and passed by the Senate. If there are differences, the clerk to the National Assembly, head by them, and the clerks to the different houses will advise the Senate President and the Speaker to constitute a conference committee. The conference committee will have a secretariat. The secretariat will now draw up the differences, and then it will be the conference committee will now work on these differences. And these differences that there will not be public hearing, but then it will be legislature to legislature, each chamber of the House with each other. And I believe that the National Assembly are going to be able to do this perhaps within this weekend, to do the complicated, because they intend that before they proceed on vacation, the bill harmonized should be on the desk of Mr. President.
Senator Ita Enang, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs,
yes,
and former SSA on Senate, to the President. We'd like to thank you for being part of our discussion this morning. Of course, this is a subject matter we're going to have to return to going forward. Do enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you very much.
All right, so that's it on Good Morning Nigeria for today and indeed for the week. We thank you for tuning in. Good Morning Nigeria returns on Monday, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Until then, do take care of yourself. I am Kingsley Osadolo.
And I am Kyrian. I do have a good weekend.